certainly would have surpassed 100 if he was healthy. He missed 10 games that year. But yeah, 35 is a career high for him. So all three of those players can pot 30 goals, right? Like, you can get a lot of offense from that line, that top line. That's not even including what he could possibly do on the power play, which could be a juggernaut out there in Vegas.
If he goes out and if he scores, if he goes and throws, gets 100 points, would not be surprised, because we know he is very much capable of doing it. Like to me, it was, he got to 100 by being more of a pass first guy than he was a goal scorer, right? Now, the year that he's got 30 goals, the last 30 goal season he had 99 points. Like, he was right there. So he has to be able to maintain that. Like, I'm not worried about his health really too much. Staying healthy in Vegas. I mean, Vegas has always had issues with keeping guys healthy. Sometimes planned, sometimes not planned. But yeah, I mean, I could see 100, but I just want to see how the chemistry works with the guys that he's playing with. Like, yeah, he's playing with good players, but they got to have that chemistry, and will they fit all together on a line?
Yeah, the drop off from Matthews to Eichel is not that significant, right? It's not that significant. So I think that there's certainly, he's saddled up to a pretty solid player. Like, moving on from Matthews to Eichel, not too shabby for him, and into a better situation where he doesn't have to be worried about, what'll happen with his family. He doesn't have to be worried about, Leafs Nation trying to come after him in the media. There's less media, there's less stress, less pressure. And, I think that if Marner can just play free, that's when he's at his best. I think he'll be able to do that far more in Vegas, which is ultimately why I think that I think he's going to have a career year. I think he's going to set personal highs this season in the points department, both in the regular season and in the playoffs, Dave. I think we see Mitch Marner post regular, playoff numbers this year, and it's going to hurt Leafs Nation. It's going to hurt Leafs Nation to see Marner go off and perform in the postseason, but I think we see it happen, dude. I really do think that it could happen.
Yeah, I'll say this about the playoffs, because the playoffs are actually the kind of the one area where he's put up points, but is it just about playing in Toronto and the pressure? That's the thing.
Early in the postseason, he's put up points. Those games 5 through 7.
Yeah, that's where that's to me. I don't think it matters where he plays. There's always going to be that pressure in those high stakes games. Yes, Toronto, it does seem immense. I don't know if it's like Vegas is still going to have that pressure. There's still going to be that, can he get it done, or can they get it done? I know Vegas has won before. Maybe that the pressure of that, he doesn't have to deal with the whole 1967 stuff anymore.
Yeah.
But there's still pressure to up your game when other players, like, if he's going up against a Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid in games 5, 6, and 7, where we're putting our money on in those games, like who we believe is going to come out on top. He's got to be able to show that he can step up above that in those moments. So that's where I remain a little skeptical on that.
So there is a FanDuel special. You go to player specials on FanDuel. Mitch Marner versus Austin Matthews head-to-head. Who has more points? Who would you bet on, Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews?
Ooh, points? I would probably give it to Marner.
He is favored at -142, so quite heavily favored to have more points. His over-under is set at, as you mentioned, I think 94.5. Austin Matthews over-under set at 89.5. So the betting world, the sports book here on FanDuel, our great sponsor, sees a dip in production for Matthews without Marner. Not as much of a dip with Marner without Matthews, but we'll see. That's why I play the games. we'll see how it all works out. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Some other news and notes from around the NHL, from around Canadian orientation camp. That's next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Mortisuti with you as always, and we're taking a look at some of the Olympic hopefuls over the course of the last couple of days here. They've been all taking part in the Olympic orientation camp out in Calgary. John Tavares, the lone Maple Leaf on Team Canada, taking part in that. He is not considered. He's a very large underdog to make Team Canada. FanDuel has him with the second longest odds to make Team Canada, ahead of only Quinton Byfield, who has longer odds to make the team. So Byfield, then Tavares, and then Bo Horvat comes in with the third longest odds to make Team Canada. Do you think that's true? Does John Tavares have virtually not much of a chance to be an Olympian this year, Dave, when you look at him stacked up against the rest of the hopefuls and roster down at the camp?
I just think of, like, with the way that Four Nations went, like, it just seems like for Canada, they're like, yeah, there's still a chance that guys that didn't play for Four Nations can make the team. And it's like, at the same time, you got to really show that you're much better than what, players that played there. I think there's an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity, but I wouldn't put a bet on Tavares making the team, just because it's just so tough when you start off with McDavid, then Crosby, and then also look at the coach. John Cooper's going to take his guys. There's nobody batting as much for John Tavares, because like we see it with George with Doug Armstrong, with Jordan Binnington and those guys there. We hear about why Logan Thompson is in there, because Bruce Cassidy has a little bit of sway, right, with that roster too. Like I just think, like, unless there's a coach or someone that says, I think we need to give John Tavares a better look here. It's the only way I see that.
Yeah, and there's enough leadership on the group where I don't think his leadership and his him being a veteran of the team really holds much weight. Like, you're gonna have Marchand there, you're gonna have Sidney Crosby there, you're gonna have Connor McDavid, obviously. So you've got leadership all throughout the lineup. You don't necessarily need to have a guy like Tavares to be the old man, the elder statesman of the room. There's going to be those guys. So he's going to have to make it onto the team the true old-fashioned way, and that's by beating out everybody else with his skill. And he could. He's got an opportunity. He's got a chance. That's why he was invited to the camp. But, according to the books, and I would agree with them, it is still very much a long shot